Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Marco Collective Gamer 77 or Marco CG77 here, and today we'll be doing a short overview of World Heroes 2 Jet for the AES system. World Heroes 2 Jet was released in Japan on April 26, 1994. Of course, another fighting game from the SNK series, but developed by ADK. Of course, other developers later on in the years also include Playmates Interactive Entertainment for the Game Boy version, D4 Enterprises for the translation over to the Wii Virtual Console, and of course, for the more recent consoles, we've got Hamster Corporation as it is part of their arcade archives, which of course means that you are able to download it for the PS4 or PS5, the Xbox One series, and of course the Nintendo Switch for portable fun and game on the go. This game primarily is, of course, published by SNK, ADK, and even Takara helped as well. It's been to several different platforms such as the Neo Geo, of course, the arcade, MVS system, Neo Geo CD, Game Boy, PlayStation 2. I already mentioned the Wii Virtual Console, both the PlayStation and Xbox One systems of games, Nintendo Switch, the Neo Geo Arcade Stick Pro, and of course the Unico MVSX. This is the third game in the series, with the last follow up being World Heroes Perfect. And the main reason why this game is called World Heroes 2 Jet is it is basically a update of World Heroes 2. It does remove the deathmatch mode, but does include a new forging of the warriors mode. And it is, instead of a round by round process, it's actually more of a tournament. So each, I guess, ladder that you fight, you'll actually face three opponents in 3 rounds, one opponent each. If the CPU wins the first 2 rounds, the ladder ends. However, if you beat the first two, you still have to still face a third character, which is really odd and kind of weird. In the tournament mode, with each tier or ladder, basically you'll be facing the three characters as I mentioned during about 4 days of the tournament. You've got some different, for each ladder, there's a different tier and different list of characters. So you've got long range characters, which include Mudman, Brocken, and Rasputin. Then you've got agility tier, which is Shura, Dragon, and Fuma. Power tier, which you face Johnny Maximum, Muscle Power, and Eric, and then the close range team, which is Ryoko, Julius Karn, and Jean, which, as you can see, they were definitely kicking my butt. There also is a final tier and also a last boss character as well. You do face Kid on one of the basically like a sub boss, and then in the finals you face Hanzo, and as the final bosses you face Jack and Ryofo. As far as the last penultimate boss, you face the tournament host, Zeus. And for this roster update, or this update to World Heroes 2, you do have some new characters like Jack, who's basically Jack the Ripper, but with Freddy Krueger style hand claws and a mohawk. You've got Ryofo, who's basically a Chinese hero and also a legend. He uses a staff. You've got Zeus, the final boss of the game, with of course returning characters like Hanzo, Fuma Kotaro, which are the Ryu and Ken of this game, Kim Dragon, which is basically Bruce Lee, Julius Karn, Rasputin, Jean, Brocken, Muscle Power, which is a take on Hulk Hogan, Eric, Ryoko Izumo, Shura, Johnny Maximum, and Mudman. As far as stages, you've got the Bamboo Forest in Japan, the Martial Arts Temple in Japan, Tourist Bus Station in Korea, the Imperial Fortress in Mongolia, the Kremlin in Russia, the Castle Fortress in France, a military base in Germany, a construction site in USA, the Treasure Cave in Seven Seas, pirate ship in Norway, the Judoka Dojo in Japan, a Buddhist temple in Thailand, Aboriginal camp in Papua New Guinea, the alleyway in USA, a military warboat in China, and a residential rooftop in the United Kingdom. And when playing the tournament mode, for each tier will have a set stage. Day 1 will take place in 1 Woodward Avenue, taking place next to an arena filled with a lot of neon. Day 2 takes place in Berlin, Germany, right at sunset in front of the Brandenburg Gate. Day 3 is in Granada, Spain, right next to the Alhambra Palace during the day. Day 4 is in front of the gates of the Forbidden City in Beijing, China. The eve of the final fights is basically taking place in the evening in Osaka, Japan. Finals will still take place in Tokyo, Japan, and then the last two stages for the boss it will be at the Blackness Castle and also the Arena of Darkness. And with that out of the way, talking a little bit more about the game itself. So basically, this is SNK and ADK's, I guess, homage or in the spirit of vein of Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo from Capcom. It does try some different things, and it was pretty well received when it was first released in '94. I think some gaming publications even gave it a gold or game of the month. The game itself was, it does tries to take a little bit of different chances for the format to kind of freshen things a bit. I will say personally, the AI is pretty punishing. It's almost uncanny. It just seems like it knows when you're going to be, jumping to throw you at the exact time. I honestly don't know if it's input reading. I know, of course, a lot of the SNK games, when it comes to input reading, extra damage when a boss character or an enemy character, CPU character hits you, and you do less damage also when you hit an enemy. That's still definitely very prevalent here in World Heroes 2 Jet. And to be honest, it's still a very good game. I think it is still better than World Heroes 1. I think I do prefer the vanilla World Heroes 2 versus this update. And if you were going to say move forward with a game in the series, I do say World Heroes Perfect is probably the best one. I definitely had a lot more fun with that. The bosses didn't seem to input read as much, but again, when this came out, this was kind of the pinnacle of that release. And as I mentioned, many publications, did give it a very good score, and even I believe I want to say it's EGM that gave it a Game of the Month back in '94. Now, of course, looking back with nostalgia and rose-tinted glasses, going back to play this game, it's still, I think, aged fairly well. If we go with graphics, the characters are fairly decently animated. They're bright, they're colorful. I do wish they were a little bit larger, but overall, I mean, there's definitely a lot of life and action in the background stages. So definitely, which can be good and bad, especially if you're trying to concentrate on a fight with the CPU that keeps reading your inputs. So overall, I do give it a solid 8 out of 10, even with today's games in mind. As far as sound, this is kind of the area that I think it kind of stumbles a little bit. It's definitely more, for me at least, probably like a 7 out of 10. There's really not a lot of the music that really speak to me. I mean, they're good. They're a bit forgetful. They're good for playing in the background, but none of the songs really, get me hyped up to fight, or at least engage in the fighting game like some of the other soundtracks in, say, the King of Fighters series, even Art of Fighting, or even, of course, the Fatal Fury series. Krauser stage is definitely one of my favorite, or the King of Fighters Bossa stage in King of Fighters '95 is amazing when it goes to the canal. So, with those in mind, this definitely, not quite as good as those, not even close. The voice effects are a little, I don't want to say hollow, but I don't know. There's something about it. Just they don't seem very crisp or high. You know, at least higher res for that time. It still feels a little muddled in comparison to other SNK fighting games. But overall, pretty decent. Still like a 7 out of 10, maybe even a 6.5 if I had to be really critical. Um, Now we get to the gameplay. Now this is a part that, even though again this was during the time when SNK and ADK were trying to compete against, say, the Super Street Fighter 2 turbos of the world, the one thing that it just doesn't quite have, it's almost there, is the gameplay. It just feels a little bit off. There are just times when I'm trying to pull off a move and it just doesn't come out right when I want to. I don't know if there's a delay or a slight lag, but it's definitely very present. And then you combine that with some of the input reading that the CPU does, and it can get pretty frustrating. So it is definitely a big knock. So for me, the gameplay, when it comes to the controls themselves, whilst better than the first game, um, I would give it a 6. It is probably the weakest point for World Heroes 2 Jet. And I think one of the reasons why most folks, especially Neo Geo fans, um, do like World Heroes 2 Jet, but if you ask them which one's better between World Heroes 2 Jet and World Heroes Perfect, they would choose World Heroes Perfect, and then you probably would have a 50-50 tie if they had to choose between World Heroes 2 and World Heroes 2 Jet. For me, if I only had to choose between World Heroes 2 and World Heroes 2 Jet, it would be World Heroes 2. Just I could forgive more of the looseness of the gameplay when it comes to World Heroes 2, especially considering when it was released. But the wonderful part about being a gamer nowadays, or being a retro gamer, or even a new fighting gamer, that a new SNK fan that's trying to try out different genres, the wonderful part is you're not spending the 250 $300 for an AES cartridge like when this first released back in the day, which was, I think around, with inflation, probably is around, $500 or $600 now. The wonderful part is, of course, you can pick this up on the PC. You can pick it up on the PlayStation consoles, PlayStation 4 and 5, Xbox Series from Xbox One all the way up to the Series X. Of course, PC on Steam, and of course the Switch. The Switch is one of the ones I definitely picked it up on. The Arcade Archives is great, only $7.99 regularly. Sometimes you can see it for about $4. So especially if you're trying to round out your collection, if you are starting to become a retro gamer, definitely great to play. Another way to play this, if you have a PS2 and can find it, it's not too hard. At least prices, I think to the last 2 years, it wasn't too bad. It's right around $40 to $60. It does come in a World Heroes compilation that came out for the PS2. So that is on disc, and that is a great conversion of the game itself. I do recommend that if you still have a working PS2. I am hoping that they do make that compilation backwards compatible for the PS5. It is, and you can play and purchase, say, the Fatal Fury Battle Archives 1 and 2, the 80K collection on the Sony PlayStation 4 and 5. So I hope eventually they'll add this. And of course, in the future, this is definitely one of those series, besides Art of Fighting, a Garo Mark of the Wolves, or a Fatal Fury, that I really hope that SNK tackles next, especially in their new vein now that they're using Unreal Engine. Hopefully, they'll use 5 and they can kick the graphics up to a notch, even more so than how good King of Fighters 15 looks. I think they can even go to the even next level. Um, I'm honestly hoping something close to Guilty Gear Strive when it comes to the artwork and style and presentation. So only time will tell. But this is, again, overall, after talking about the gameplay, sound, graphics, um, overall, I would say that this is a solid 7 for me. Again, still a good game, but just not quite as crisp when it comes to the controls, like, say, Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, or say World Heroes Perfect, which will be my next video, which is probably one of the best. It's probably the best in my mind when it comes to the World Heroes Anthology of 4 games. So, everyone, I do thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Definitely appreciate everyone that has joined up so far. I think at about 522, and I do appreciate your time just to watch these videos, even if it's just kind of take a glimpse back, see at my look at my horrible gameplay, and watch the computer completely just wreck me with some of these SNK AI. But I do appreciate it. It's always fun to go back and play these games, even if I have to take it out or unpack it. It's still definitely a fun time, and I do enjoy doing these videos. So again, everyone, thanks for watching. Till the next video, which will be World Heroes Perfect.